All right, team, here we go. The last section of Stargirl. We've made it. So what happened in the last one, right? They went to the dance. It was the Ocotillo ball. Stargirl went by herself. They danced. And then she rode away and they never saw her again. What happened? Let's find out. Chapter 32, page 176. That was 15 years ago. 15 Valentine's Days. I remember that sad summer after the Ocotillo ball just as clearly as everything else. One day, feeling needy and empty, I walked over to her house. A for sale sign pierced the ground in front. I peered through the window. Nothing but bare walls and floors. I went to see Archie. Something in his smile and said he had been expecting me. We sat on the back porch. Everything seemed as usual. Archie lighting his pipe, in the golden desert in the evening sun, Senor Saguaro losing his pants. Nothing had changed. Everything had changed. Where? I said. A corner of his mouth winked open, and a silky rumple of smoke emerged, paused as if to be admired, then drifted off past his ear. Midwest, Minnesota. Will I ever see her again? He shrugged. Big country, small world, who knows? She didn't even finish out the school year. No, just vamoosed, which means disappeared. It's only been weeks, but it seems like a dream. Was she really here? Who was she? Was she real? He looked at me for a long time, his smile wry, his eyes twinkling. Wry meaning like happy, but kind of mischievous. Then he shook his head as if coming out of a trance. He deadpanned. Oh, you're waiting for an answer. What were the questions again? Stop being nutty, Archie. He looked off to the west. The sun was melting butter over the Maricopas, over the mountains. Real? Oh, yes, as real as we get. Don't ever doubt that. That is the good news. He pointed to the pipe stem at me. And well named, Stargirl. Though I think she had simpler things in mind. Star people are rare. You'll be lucky to meet another. Star people? I said. You're losing me here. He chuckled. That's okay. I lose myself. It's just my oddball way of accounting for someone. I don't really understand any more than you do. So where do stars come in? He pointed the pipe stem. The perfect question. In the beginning. That's where they come in. They supplied the ingredients that became us, the primordial elements, the original elements. We are star stuff, yes? He held up the skull of Barney, the Paleocene rodent. Barney too, I nodded, along for the ride. And I think every once in a while, someone comes along who is a little more primitive than the rest of us, a little more like closer to our beginnings, a little more in touch with the stuff we're made of. The words seemed to fit her, though I could not grasp their meaning. He saw the vacant look in my eyes and laughed. He tossed Barney to me, page 178. He stared at me. She liked you, boy. The intensity of his voice and eyes made me blink. Yes, I said. She did it for you, you know. What? Gave herself up for a while there. She loved you that much. What an incredibly lucky kid you were. I could not look at him. I know. He shook his head with wistful sadness. No, you don't. You can't know yet. Maybe someday. I know he was tempted to say more, probably to tell me how stupid I was, how cowardly, that I blew the best chance I would ever have. But his smile returned and his eyes were tender again, and nothing harsher than cherry smoke came out of his mouth. I continued to attend Saturday meetings of the Loyal Order of the Stone Bone. We did not speak of her again until the following summer, several days before I was to leave for college. Archie had asked me to come over. He took me out back, but this time not to the porch. Instead, he led me to the tool shed. He slid back the bolt and opened the door, and it was not a tool shed after all. This was her office, he said, and gestured for me to enter. Here it was, all the stuff of her activity that I had expected to see in her room at home, the office whose location she would not reveal. I saw the wheels of ribbon and wrapping paper, stacks of colored construction paper, cardboard boxes of newspaper clippings, watercolors, cans of paint, yellow stack of the phone book. Tacked to one wall was a municipal map, like a street map, of mica. Hundreds of pins of dozens of different colors pierced the map. There was no indication what they stood for. A huge homemade calendar covered the opposite wall. It had a square for every date in the year. Penciled into the squares were names. Across the top of the calendar was one word: birthdays. There was one dot of color on the whole thing, a little red heart, and it was next to my name. Archie handed me a fat family album sort of book. The homemade title said, The Early Life of Peter Stinkowitz, and I flipped through it. I saw the pictures she had taken that day. Peter squabbling, arguing with the little girls over his beloved banana roadster. I'm to wait 5 years, then give it to his parents, said Archie. He pointed to a filing cabinet in the corner. It had 3 drawers, and I opened one. There were dozens of red hanging folders, each one with a name tag sticking up. I saw Borlock, me. I pulled it out and opened it. There was the birthday notice that appeared in the Mica Times 3 years before, and a profile of me from the school paper, and pictures, candid snapshots of me in the parking lot, me leaving my house, me at the mall. Apparently, Peter Stinkowitz wasn't the only target for her camera. On a sheet of paper with 2 columns, likes and doesn't like. Heading the list of likes was porcupine neckties. Under that was strawberry banana smoothies. I replaced my folder, and I saw other names. Kevin, Dory Dilson, Mr. McShane, Danny Pike, Anna Grisdale, even Hillary Kimball and Wayne Parr. I stepped back. I was stunned. This is unbelievable. Files. On people. Like she was a spy. Archie nodded, smiling. A lovely treason. Like a lovely reason to break the rules. I could not speak. He led me out into the dazzling light. Chapter 33, page 181. Throughout my college years, I visited Archie whenever I came home, and when I got a job back east, and my visits were less frequent. As Archie grew older, the difference between himself and Senor Saguaro seemed to become less and less. We sat on the back porch. He seemed fascinated by my work. I had become a set designer. A set designer is the person who designs what TV shows will look like. Only recently has it occurred to me that I became one on the day Stargirl took me into her enchanted place. On my last visit with him, he met me at the front door. He dangled keys in front of me and said, "You drive." An old tar pail rattled in the bed of his ancient pickup as he pointed me to the Maricopas. In his lap, he carried a brown paper bag. Along the way, I said, as I always did, "So, have you figured her out yet?" It was years since she had gone, yet still we needed no name for her. We knew who we were talking about. "I'm working on it," he said. "What's the latest?" We were following a familiar script. They've had this conversation before. On this day, he stated, "She's better than bones." On my previous visit, he had said, "When a Stargirl cries, she does not shed tears, but light." On other days in other years, he had called her the rabbit in the hat, right? Like a magic trick where the rabbit comes out. And the universal solvent, right? The answer to everything. And the recycler of our garbage. He said these things with a sly grin, knowing they would confuse me, as I mulled them into our next meeting. 182. We were in the foothills by early afternoon. He directed me to stop on a stony shoulder of the road. Excuse me. We got out and walked. He brought the paper bag with him, and I brought the pail. He pulled it from the floppy blue hat, which he mashed into his head, and the sun had looked warm and buttery at a distance, was blazing hot here. We didn't go far, as walking was a chore for him, because he was old. We stopped at an outcropping of smooth, pale gray rock. He pulled a small pick from the pail and tapped on the rock. "This'll do," he said. I held the paper bag while he put the pick to the rock. The skin on his arms had become dry and flaky, as if his body were preparing to drill in the earth. It took him 10 minutes to gouge out a hole that he judged to be just right. He asked for the bag. I was shocked at what he took from it. Barney? The skull of the Paleocene rodent. "This is his home," he said. He said he was sorry he did not have the energy to return Barney to his original stratum in South Dakota. He laid Barney in the hole, then took from his pocket a scrap of paper. He crumbled the scrap and stuffed it into the hole with the skull. Then he pulled a jug of water from a small bag in the patching cement, a trowel, which is the scrape, like the thing you put cement down with, and a plastic tray from the tar pail. He mixed the cement and troweled over the hole. From a distance, you wouldn't know the rock had ever been altered. Right, so he hid the skull inside a rock. Heading back to the pickup, I asked him what was written on the paper. "A word," he said. The way he said it told me I'd get no answer to the next question. We rode east down to the mountains and were home before sundown. When I returned the next time, someone else was living in Archie's house. The shed out back was gone, and so was Senor Saguaro. And a new elementary school now occupies Stargirl's enchanted place. Chapter nothing. This is just the end. Page 184. More than stars. Since graduating, our class has had a reunion every 5 years, but I haven't gone yet. I stay in touch with Kevin, and he never left Micah. He has a family there now. Like me, he did not wind up in television. But he does make good use of his gifts of gab. He's an insurance salesman. Kevin says when the class gathers for reunions at Micah Country Club, I have a hard time reading that, there is much talk of Stargirl and curiosity as to her whereabouts. He says the most common question these days is, "Were you on the bunny hop?" Meaning, did you do the dance? At the last reunion, several classmates for a lark lined up, hands to waist, and hopped around the putting green for a few minutes, but it wasn't the same. No one is quite sure what happened to Wayne Parr, except that he and Hillary broke up shortly after graduation. The last they heard, he spoke of joining the Coast Guard, the military. The high school has a new club called the Sunflowers. To join, you have to sign an agreement promising to do one nice thing per day for someone other than myself. Today's Electron Marching Band is probably the only one in Arizona with a ukulele. On the basketball court, the Electrons have never come close to the success they enjoyed when I was a junior. But something from the season has resurfaced in recent years that baffles fans from other schools. At every game, when the opposing team scores their first basket, a small group of Electron fans jumps to its feet and cheers. Each time I visit Micah, I drive past her old house on Palo Verde. On the most recent visit, I saw a red-haired young man across the street fixing water skis to the roof of a yellow Volkswagen Beetle. It must have been Peter Stinkowitz. I wonder if he was as possessive of his Beetle as he had been of his banana roadster. I wonder if he was old enough to love his scrapbook. As for me, I throw myself into my work and keep an eye peeled for silver lunch trucks. And I remember, I sometimes walk out into the rain without an umbrella. When I see change on the sidewalk, I leave it there. If no one's looking, I drop a quarter. I feel guilty when I buy a card from Hallmark, and I listen for mockingbirds. I read the newspapers. I read them from all over. I skip the front pages and the headlines, and I go to the pages in the back. I read the community sections and the fillers. I see little acts of kindness happening from Maine to California. I read of a man in Kansas City who stands at a business intersection every morning and waves at the people driving to work. I read of a little girl in Oregon who sells lemonade in front of her house for 5 cents a cup and offers a free back scratch to every customer. When I read about these things like these, I wonder, is she there? I wonder what she calls herself now. I wonder if she's lost her freckles. I wonder if I'll ever get another chance. I wonder, but I don't despair. I don't get sad. Though I have no family of my own, I do not feel alone. I know that I'm being watched. The echo of her laughter is the second sunrise I awaken to each day. And at night, I feel it is more than stars looking down on me. Last month, one day before my birthday, I received a gift wrap package in the mail. It was a porcupine necktie. Well, that was an adorable book, guys. And yes, I do cry at the end every time. You can make fun of me when we see each other again. There is a sequel, by the way. There's another book. It's called Love, Stargirl. I've not read it yet. I have a copy at school, so when we get back, you can borrow mine if you'd like, or I bet you can get it from the library. All right, couple things. Go log on to Teams and do your summaries for these. You have some assignments to do. Then there's a movie of this book now. It just came out right before school closed. It's on Disney Plus. So if you have Disney Plus, awesome. If not, find a friend who does, borrow their login, and go watch it. I've not watched it yet. I'm going to watch it this weekend. I wanted to finish reading it again and not spoil it for myself. So you should go watch it and tell me how it is. I'm excited to go watch it as well. All right, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you later.